Good evening, everybody. I hope you had a nice week. As promised, I'm going to give you a little bit of feedback regarding your the research questions that you have posted on Moodle. First of all, I want to say congratulations. I think that most of the questions that I have seen are of very high quality and are really very useful for good starting points for your research questions, for your research projects. Sorry. I want, however, to point to a couple of things. So just to make sure that all of you can improve them already at this stage of the process. So the first thing is that I have the impression that for some of you, you still ask too many questions, right? So as you know, you should raise 2, maximum 3 research questions. And if you have more than 3, that means that your project is not focused enough. Okay, and it's true that if you read all the points, sometimes it becomes clear that there are more than one research project in the project that you're proposing. So again, if you have more than 3 research questions, it's often an indication that the project is not focused, but that you're still trying to identify what exactly you are looking at. So please try to focus, and actually having 2 research questions is enough. You need to be very focused. Don't forget you don't have a lot of time. This is not a PhD project or a big research project. You have just a couple of months and actually just a couple of weeks to collect and analyze data, because then you will have to write, right? So think about that. Another issue that is important, and that is actually more, I read a lot of these kind of questions that are actually either open, that are closed, right? So questions that you can answer with yes or no are not good research questions. So avoid questions that are closed, and try to ask questions that are more complicated and require a more nuanced answer, because often when we do research, the question is not, the answers are never black and white. They are often gray. So the research questions need to allow an answer that is complex. A closed research question is a question that will necessarily produce an easy answer, and that is actually easy answers are often of very poor quality. So please try to ask open research questions. Yes, then of course, as I said, most of the research questions I've read are of very high quality and point to projects that are feasible. But some research questions are still too vague, or give me the impression that the project that you have in mind is just not feasible in terms of the time that you have at your disposal, right? And in terms of money and energy that you can invest, in terms of resources, human resources, research capacity that you need, right? So please don't forget that this is a small project, right? And it needs to be feasible. You have March, April, May, June, July, and August. You have actually 6 months. It looks a lot, but you will take a lot of time to write your findings down, right? And then don't forget that in the first phase of your research project, you will have to work on a lot of other issues too. So you will attend other modules, you will have to write assignments. So the first phase will be slow. That's why you don't have a lot of time, and try to make sure that your research question make justice to that. For example, there are some of you who want to look at change. So change in communicative pattern, or what happens if students get this type of input, what impact does this have on their communicative competence on their language skills. But you know, language learning takes time. You don't have time, so please try to adapt your research questions to the time that you have at this you know, that you have, to the resources that you can invest, and as well to your own level, because some projects are very ambitious, and I'm not sure that you're ready yet for that type of research. There are some questions that I just didn't understand, and probably this is due to the fact that I am not a specialist in that field in which you work. In certain cases, I have the impression that you're trying to do something super sophisticated, and at the end of the day, the question becomes very complicated and nobody understands it. The best research questions are very, very simple and are very transparent and are very, you know, clear. So try to be as clear as possible, because often we can hide ourselves behind complicated research questions, and complicated research questions often are an indication that you are still insecure about what you actually want to do. Okay, be simple. So then another point that I wanted to highlight is that actually nobody, or very few of you, are asking why questions. Okay, so it seems that most, actually almost just, I've seen just 3 or 4 why questions. So questions asking for explanations for phenomena. So how come that things are the way they are? And it seems to me that most of you are not interested in that, and that's okay. It's just kind of interesting for me, and yeah, and it makes me think, right? So it seems that you remain on a very descriptive level. So there are a lot of, for example, what questions or how questions. I like the how questions, but it remains still on a descriptive level. Our job is not just to describe, but it's as well to analyze, and especially to explain processes. So perhaps you should think as well about why questions, if you want. You don't have to, but yeah. So that's it in terms of improving your research questions. Again, not all of you will have to do all the things that I just mentioned. Yeah, I'm just, you know, I looked at more than 150 research projects. So these are the things that came up. Most of your projects are perfect or great. You will be able to rediscuss it a little bit with your supervisors, but at the moment they are very good. I also like very much the feedbacking, very constructive feedback, and I like as well the fact that you're a bit critical, right? That you're pushing your peers, and I didn't get the impression that the feedback was destructive, but really good feedback. So congratulations for that too. Yeah, so there are still peers of, most of you have done their homework, and there are still around 10 students who don't do the job, but who, you know, don't post, don't comment, don't give feedback, and that's a pity. And actually that's not good, because this all this is compulsory. So I'm gonna identify the names and write you personally. Okay, so there are 2 practical things for the last unit that will come, that is due for next Friday, again at 6 p.m. Actually 3 practical things. The first one is really, it would be great if all of you could finish the activities by Friday night, because actually a lot of you uploaded everything only today, Saturday, and that forces me to work on Saturday, on the weekends. And I'm sorry, I really don't want to work on weekends, right? You shouldn't work on weekends. I don't want to work on weekends. But if you upload it on Saturday, you force me to work on weekends, and you force me to work actually, even now it's evening, very late. So please upload everything on Friday night. Second, I already mentioned it last time, and one of your peers, Evelyn, mentioned it too in one of her comments. You should post the title of your project in the heading of your post, because that facilitates the feedbacking and it facilitates my job. Okay, so please, many of you have written research questions, RQ or whatever. It's not enough. Put the title, okay? That we are looking at research questions, we know. This is the main topic of the unit, but put the title. It makes it so much easier for me to do my job, and as well for your peers. The last thing is a very technical one. I don't have a Mac, so if you post with pages, in a pages format, I can't read it. So you should post it directly on Moodle, right, on the screen. So don't put it on a separate file, because again, then I will have to open, and then I have 160 open Word files. It's not very practical. So type it directly on the thing. Yeah. So that's it. That's it for today. Continue working on your projects. Continue like this. I'm really impressed by the level and the quality of your work is very high. Good, very good. So 2 dates. I'm repeating myself. I already told you, but it seems that some of you have missed it. On the 8th of February, it's on a Friday between 2 and 5, we have the dissertation clinic where you can ask questions about your projects. You get 10 minutes for each of you to ask questions about your projects. It's compulsory for everybody. Please, on the 8th of February, come. And then the 18th of February, it's the date where you have to submit your proposal, on the 18th. Okay, good. Thank you very much, and see you next week, and have fun. Bye bye.